We continue our look into Paldea Evolved by upgrading our other Battle Pass deck, that is our list featuring Forretress EX. Forretress EX is a fantastic Grass-type Stage 1 EX Pokemon that allows us to accelerate a ton of Grass energy into play. If we get this Pokemon in play, we can use its ability to knock ourselves out and accelerate up to 5 Grass energy from our deck to our Pokemon in any way we like. The downside, obviously, is that our opponent will take multiple prize cards for every Forretress that we have knocking itself out, but with cards like Iono and Roxanne in the deck, sometimes them taking extra prizes means that we can play these cards and minimize their hand size. But if we want to accelerate energy, we need a Pokemon to attach those energies to, and in this list we are going for copies of Wo-Chien EX. It has 2 very interesting attacks on a Stage 1 230 HP Pokemon. The first attack is going to be the real focus of our deck though. 3 energy, 2 grass and a colorless, deals 60 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon that you like for each prize card that they've taken. Presuming of course that you've got 2 Forretress EX that have been knocked out, you're going to be dealing at least 240 damage, and when you can put that damage on any Pokemon you like, you can see why this card would be very, very strong. We also have the brand new Squawkabilly EX in this deck. We really want to draw cards early, and playing Squawkabilly down onto our bench on our first turn means that we get to discard our hand and draw a bunch of cards, and that can be very, very useful to get ourselves into Forretress early. Combine that with another card, the Charm of Courage. I think that's what it's called, Charm of Courage. We can attach that to our Wo-Chien EX to give it, as a basic Pokemon, a 50 HP boost, meaning that our Wo-Chien will have 280 HP, an attack that can deal 240 plus damage for 3 energy, and pretty much no cards in our opponent's hand. And that will mean Path to the Peak and those kinds of cards can lock our opponent out of the game, and hopefully we can steal a couple of wins. Got another couple of tech cards in here. Spiritomb turns off Pokemon V's ability, so Genesect won't be drawing any cards, and we've also got Mawile here, just in case we need to stall out our opponent and try and get a win that way. Hopefully we can just take knockouts though. That's what I'm going to be trying to do. Let's jump out into the ladder now and see if we can't get a win. It's time to get started with Wo-Chien. We'll see if Forretress EX is able to power it up and get us using our attacks. Now, I'm apologizing. I realize now that I accidentally put the Japanese cards in the intro, and I realize that. I understand that I could go back and edit it so that the English cards are in the preview. But I'm not going to, because I'm lazy, or tired, one of the two. We've got Wo-Chien in the active, but we've got nothing much else going on here, so I think it's simply going to be a Big Charm, Path to the Peak, Basic Energy kind of turn here. We'll throw those down, and then we can research the one-off research in our hand. This is pretty solid. We can work with this. We've got an Ultra Ball here, which we could use to grab ourselves Forretress this turn. The Path to the Peak turns off the Arceus, and if it doesn't, if it gets removed, then we can play down the Forretress ourselves. And we can just Skwovet as well. That's definitely achievable. Our biggest issue here is actually there's not much for us to do. Like, I'm looking at this hand, it doesn't seem super great. Like, not ideal, that's okay. They're going to attach to the active that fighting energy onto the Duraludon. We've got another Pineco here. I'm just going to attach it energy. That's pretty much all I'm going to do this turn. I think I'm just going to pass. Hopefully, it all works out for us here. And we're able... Oh, he's just got the metal as well. Okay, so that looks like we're going to be using Metal Claw. Okay, 70 damage. That's fair enough. That Path to the Peak still in play. Maybe I should use the Catcher. Maybe we'll try and flip heads on this Pokemon Catcher, and we flip their heads. Okay, so it's all starting to come about here. This Umbreon in the active is going to be relatively easy for us to knock out. The issue is, we don't actually have a way to get energy in play. So I'm going to grab the Forretress here. We're going to throw that down. Path to the Peak stinks for us. We played it, and it stopped us from doing anything. Let's Skwovet. Let's Nest Dash. We'll see what we can find. If we can find... Ooh, okay, well, Lost Vacuum. The Lost Vacuum next turn will get rid of the Path. And then hopefully we'll be able to find our other Path in the same turn. It's really not good at all. Like, this is a bad start. But they've passed, so it's working. Everything's working. And Iono. Ooh, do I want to give them 6 freshies? I think, oh god, I could, what could I do? I think we just pass. I think it's better to hold on to the Iono for next turn. If they don't bump the path, they top deck the path, they top deck the path out, they top deck the path out. Unbelievable. That's okay. I was about to say, if they don't bump the path, then we can vacuum whatever we draw in our hand away, use Forretress, and then Iono, and hopefully path them again. But it doesn't matter now. It does not matter now. It's all over. I mean, it's not over, but it's going to be tough from here. They've got the ability to Starbirth, which means they're going to be probably searching for a switch and an energy if they haven't got them already, so that they can attack into this Wo-Chien in the active. We've got 210 HP remaining though, so we might just be a little bit too far away for Arceus V-Star. They might instead need to go for the Duraludon V-Max knockout here. That might need to be the way that they go. That's a DTE onto the Umbreon to retreat. Okay, well that's definitely not what I was expecting to see. The Duraludon V in the active now can only use Metal Claw. Playing down Radiant Alakazam, another Umbreon. This is an interesting turn here. Maybe they're going to use Umbreon V-Star to like, oh, okay, here we go. Umbreon V-Star, maybe knock out the Skwovet. Or put damage on the Wo-Chien. Definitely not a terrible idea. The thing that I like the most, though, for us, is that we are in a position now where our opponent has used their V-Star power. So the path of the peak matters just that little bit less. We can use Forretress now to accelerate some energy, and we've top decked another one. So let's use Exploding Energy. We'll see if we can't brick up our opponent just a little bit here. Exploding Energy will get 3 energies, I think, off of this one. Chuck them onto the active. We'll give our opponent 2 prize cards. Like, they can have them. They can have those 2 prize cards. It's not a problem. And then we're going to Iono them and limit their hand to 4. And then at some point, they're going to knock out a Wo-Chien, and we're going to do it again. And hopefully that's enough to win. We'll see whether or not it's going to happen. I feel like a couple of turns of bricking early is going to punish us here. Iono will draw us 6 cards and our opponent 4 cards. And we've got a pretty solid hand here. We've got Nest Ball, which can grab the Bidoof, which means that Bibarel will be able to be used next turn. And let's use Covetous Ivy, which is going to deal 60 damage for every prize card our opponent's taken. Right now, it's doing 120, and that's fine, because we don't necessarily want to take a knockout on the Arceus just yet. But it's going to put everything else in range, which I am a big fan of. We'll see now, though, whether we're able to survive. The biggest issue we're going to have is that if our opponent is able to attack with Duraludon VMAX, which they're not because they're retreating, if they are able to attack with Arceus V-Star, which they are because they're attaching, then we're going to be down to 1 potential attacker, and it's only got 220 HP remaining. So it's a little bit grim. We're not going to be able to deal with any attackers here beyond the ones that are already in play. We'll see what our opponent chooses to attach to. They're going to go to the Duraludon, and that means now we are going to be able to do 240 damage with Covetous Ivy, so that's very good. Our big issue, though, is going to be we don't have another Wo-Chien, so we're going to have to see whether or not we can get this going. We will attach the V-Guard energy, we'll play down the Bibarel, and then it's time to Iono. And hopefully it's bricking time. I'd love to see Pokemon Catcher, that would be great. If we don't, that's fine, and we didn't, and that's fine. I'm happy to hold on to this hand because we've got Boss's Orders in it, and I know that I'm going to be dealing enough damage to knock out that Duraludon. So we'll take that KO. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a brilliant 2 cards. If they don't, and they simply attack into us, then we have a chance. It's not a great chance, but it is a chance. So we'll see whether or not it's possible. But like I said, missing a couple of turns early whilst our opponent is bricking means that we're not necessarily able to get a consistent start off. It's going to be a little bit trickier for us from here. So they've Trinity Novaed. We have the boss. We're going to boss up probably the Alakazam. That's the least likely Pokemon to get energy on it. We know they've used 3 double turbos already. They likely have 2 switch outs, but one of them will be an escape rope. So I'm going to go for the boss here. I'm going to bring up the Alakazam. And then I think it's simply just a matter of knocking out this Umbreon V on the bench whilst we still can, taking 2 prize cards and hoping that in the 4 cards that our opponent has, they don't have Switch or DTE. So there's 2 copies, they've got 34 cards left in deck, 2 prizes, and they just have the Switch. Okay, so well that's what it is. They just have the Switch. But if we hadn't bricked early, then we would have been able to win that game, and I think they only realistically had 2 copies of those cards to get out, so I don't think that was a bad play at all. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching Wo-Chien and Forretress go about it. We didn't get the win today, but you will when you play the deck on the ladder. Thanks everyone for coming. I'll see you next time for more from the Sableyes.